Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today we are doing Hunter the Reckoning. Now, I did and ah whether I should do this one or the third one next, because obviously starting off with the second one isn't ideal. But I felt there was enough in the first game to merit its inclusion. Plus the emulation for the third game, which I'm having to do because it's not on Xbox's backwards compatibility list. And I don't own an OG Xbox, I just have an Xbox One. So I'm having to emulate that one with Zemu, and there are some problems with it. I don't think they're going to be fixed by the time I actually come out and review it, but we can hope. But I thought I'd do the first one first, because technically this is the first Xbox game I've ever played, original Xbox I should say. And I'm actually very impressed by it. I don't know how much of that is due to the backwards compatibility and any upscaling going on there. But it looks hell of a lot nicer than the upscaled PS2 second game, Redeemer. As you can just clearly see from the screen. I was very impressed by it. It did also come out on GameCube, but it is, by all measures, inferior version graphically and even audibly. This sounds worse. So Hunter is, for all intents and purposes, very similar to the second game, as you would expect being a sequel. You can see where they've progressed, though. There's no hub area in the first game, and there's less characters. Well, you only have 4 in this one, but that's fine, because you start off with 4 in the second one, so that makes sense. And it's set around the same town, Ashcroft, which is a prison town, and a penitentiary has been overtaken by vampires, and wraiths are created whenever they horribly murder or experiment on somebody. And the children, God bless them, had a rave outside of the prison and woke everything up, because kids are horrible in horror movies every time. It's like, stop watching TVs with nothing on. It just doesn't end well. That's all I say about that. So it's still a twin stick shooter essentially, except you obviously have the combat as well. And there's just not... I can't explain it very well, because there is something I like about this one over Wayward, which was the second one. I can't put my finger on it. It is a little bit more tricky to grind, because obviously not having a hub world, you can't pick where you go, you just progress linearly in the story. So that's... If you look in a power game, that's a little bit sucky. It was complained about for being too hard. I haven't had too much difficulty yet. I've died a few times in boss fights and things. But it is still... It's not as generous with the continues as the second game, but certainly it's still fairly generous in that regard. So I don't think there's going to be a huge problem. I mean, it is a 2002 game. That's when it came out for Xbox. The GameCube one came out in 2002 in North America and 2003 in Europe. But yeah, it's another fun one, and it was like a $5 on eBay, and it works perfectly on my Xbox One due to the backwards compatible program that Microsoft instituted. And you know, that I can't say enough good things about that, because that's allowed me to play a load of like 360 games I missed out on as well. Because I was always a PlayStation guy. The Xbox One was the first Xbox I ever bought, and some would say that was the incorrect time to get into Xbox. And since it's gone like Game Pass and everything's coming out on PC as well, there's no real incentive for me to ever buy like a Series X or a Series S or anything like that. Even though I think they're fine consoles and have nothing against them, it's just the fact that I have a gaming PC kind of means I'm kind of wasting my money, which is not something I'm a fan of doing, as you may have realised. Good news though, I was actually able to obtain the Hunter sourcebook. Well, I'd say obtain, it's in the post. For much less than I originally thought I would have had to pay. So I'm rather pleased about that, and I'm looking forward to getting it. And that would be the 4th sourcebook I've got for World of Darkness, because I've got Vampire, Mage and Werewolf already. So I'm filling in. I think some of the more esoteric ones like Geist and Primordial and all of those ones, I think they're going to be a lot more difficult to find, because they just weren't as popular. And you know, that's going to cost me a bomb if I try and get those. I might leave off because the likelihood of ever running a game of it is super low for me, and it's just really to read the book that I'm buying it. But you know, you pay your money, you take your choice. But in the terms of Hunter the Reckoning, it's just a fun time. I had more fun with this, the first one, than I did the second. I won't, whether that's because the emulation was flawless on the Xbox One and it was a little bit jank on the PS2 emulator I'm using, I don't know, but it plays very similarly, and there's an interesting carryover into the third game from the first, which I'll talk about when I get around to doing the third game. As I said, though, there are a few bigger problems emulating the third game. However, it's really the only way I can play it without actually going out and buying an Xbox console, which, for the sake of doing one game, I'm not really on board with. Maybe if I discover there's a slew of Xbox games I want and they aren't on the backwards compatibility playlist, I will perhaps invest in one at some point in the future, but for right now I can't really justify any outlay like that. The third one is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to exposit more on my various difficulties when I get around to doing that, which will probably be next week in this misordered lineup of videos. But anyway, guys, Hunter the Reckoning. It's fun. Pick it up if you've got an Xbox or an Xbox One, or I don't know if the X or S will do it, but it's definitely backwards on 360 and the One. So if you've got that, fill your boots. It's like a $5. It's good fun. In fact, as I say, I like it more than the second one, even though the second one did have the hub war, had more. You have an email system where you have lore entries rather than just pop-ups, which you get in the first game. Outside of that, the gameplay is super duper similar, and that's no bad thing. The gameplay was fine. It was a little bit repetitive, yes, and the models for the bad guys were very repetitive as well. And yeah, it still has those problems because obviously it came before, but that was never a problem for me that broke the game. It was like, I have played the original Gauntlet, and like having a room full of the same ghost sprite, that basically it doesn't matter to me. It's one of those things where I can just overlook it and be like, yeah, whatever. I'm enjoying the game. I don't really care about that. Anyway, guys, let me know down below if you've played any of the Hunter series, or have these videos inspired you to try it. Maybe you didn't realize that the first Hunter was backwards compatible. You're like, I might give that a go. It's fairly cheap. It's at the end of the day, when I make these older videos, which I'm having to do out of necessity at the moment, although I might have a newer one soon for you, I'm just saying. We'll see that. We'll see. So I make these older videos in the hope that at least one person that watches these videos goes out and actually gives the game a go. Whether they hate it or not is up to them. But, raising awareness of these old games and the fact that I missed them at the time. And hopefully people that did as well watch these videos and go, yeah, I'm give that a try. It looks up my alley. It could be a fun time. That's all I really care about. So, anyway, guys, that's me done for this week. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.